On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we're going to talk about modern live streaming and some of the tools and tips and all that other fun stuff. And I'll talk a little bit about what I use for my live streaming, and it should be a whole heck of a lot of fun. And today's episode is made possible by freevideoeditor.co. And if you're looking to start editing videos and you need a nice, modern, powerful editing tool, well, at freevideoeditor.co, you can download the Shotcut Video Editor along with all of our other goodies and start editing like a pro today. And it all starts by heading on over to freevideoeditor.co and leave off the last M for... Any M words there?
No, it's got to start with
I don't see an M word, so we're going to say mommy. Leave off the last M for mommy. And with that, let's hit the song.
He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy.
It's the radio show about Video Marketing Madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper on the Show podcast network. That's our home network, and we're on all the podcatchers, or most of them. And we got a YouTube channel too. Isn't that special? Yes,
that is special. Special indeed. So
how you liking Atlanta so far?
You know, it's lovely here in Atlanta. It's well, I'd say it's not quite as hot as California, but actually when we left California, it was actually colder than it is here, so it's tough to say. But I will say it is a very nice area. It's very friendly. The gasoline is nearly half the price. And I went to McDonald's the other day for breakfast, and it didn't cost me $7, $8, $9 in order to get a simple little breakfast. So very cool here in hot Atlanta. And I say Atlanta, we're actually pretty far outside of Atlanta in the middle of nowhere, but
how's your non-allergic rhinitis?
You know, it's been very good. Haven't had many allergy or pretend allergy issues at all since I moved. In fact, I can breathe pretty cleanly here. But I'm not sure if that's the air or if that's the regimen of medications my wife makes me take every day that seem to help.
Well, but you're not in the desert anymore. And I was I was talking to an attorney yesterday in El Centro, which is not too far from where you were. And he said, oh, yeah, a lot of people have non-allergic rhinitis down here because of the desert.
Crazy. Yeah, I had never even heard of that before until
Yep, he says just all the desert stuff, you know, all that
desert stuff.
Yep.
We don't know what to do with the desert stuff. But, of course, I'll tell you one thing you can do with the desert stuff is you could broadcast it. And why could you broadcast desert stuff? Well, you can broadcast it because of things like Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Periscope and Instagram and every other place. Livecast or Livestream, you name it. There's so many places these days. And live streaming is a huge industry right now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your position on this, it's in its infancy and nobody is really using it to the utmost of its capacity. Most people are still doing the old hold your phone in front of your face and just talk to your friends for 5 minutes. Whereas we, here at Video Marketing Madness, we like to be able to use live streaming for more professional purposes and to do some very cool things. Now, we're not the only ones doing this. Of course, you may see CNN does this and Fox News does this. And the UFC does this with their events. The WWE does this with their events. There's a lot of different companies that are using it, but those are kind of the top end companies. But what about us who are pretty much normal everyday people without billion-dollar budgets who are trying to do live streaming but do them professionally, just like if you're watching this now instead of listening to it. Now, if you're on the podcast, you're just listening to this later in the future. What we do is we record this through Facebook Live, and it kind of has that CNN, Fox News look to it, where we've got the Steve and I in a window, and we got the date and time and all that kind of stuff on the screen. And the reason that we do that is because, well, one, I wanted to show off the capabilities that we can do with live streaming, which is why we did that. But we also like the interactive nature of it. And quite honestly, it actually boosts our audience quite a bit. The number of people who watch directly on
it.
Facebook doubles our audience size, so that there's literally like 4 people each week that actually watch our show. So it's, I'm just kidding, that's a joke. I wish. But the point is, we can do these great live streams, and one of the things that I've been doing, Steve, and I don't know how much you know about this, but I actually work with other businesses now doing live streams like this, and
I knew that.
We actually control it, via the controllers here, and we actually produce television programs of sorts, live streaming programs for various companies, and it's a lot of fun, and it's neat. It's a little tough because, quite honestly, the technology is still a little bit suspect. And so there are issues every once in a while where, the internet kind of bogs down on us, or Facebook cuts us off for no random reason whatsoever, and we kind of just lose our signal. But live streaming is not only the future, but it is where we're at right now, if you're willing to take the time to really get into it. And that's something that you really should think about doing. Whether you are a marketing person or whether you own a business and you want to do marketing for your business, this is a tremendous way to be able to do that. And so I wanted to go through today and talk a little bit about some of the different tools that you can use and what you need to really do some good live streaming. Now, the great thing about this is you don't necessarily have to go out and spend $50,000. You certainly could. There are ways to spend that kind of money and have really good results. But there are ways to not spend a lot of money and still have good results. In fact, you can probably tell right now, I'm actually in my new office. And yes, if it looks like I'm sitting on the floor, I kind of am. I'm sitting on a box because I don't have a chair yet in my office. But I am in my new office. But you can see here, I'm just using completely natural lighting. There's no studio lights on me right now. And, it doesn't look great. It's a little grainy, but you get the idea. We still have a very professional look. Steve looks very good where he is. The lighting is good. Neither of us are using high-end video cameras and lighting and things like that. In fact, today I'm not even using my professional radio mic. So I'm actually using a lavalier lapel mic. If you're watching, you can see it here. I'm actually just using a lapel mic today because my radio mic and some of that stuff is not in the new office yet. And hopefully it'll be in here shortly so that we'll be able to get back to our normal way of doing business. But this microphone works very, very well, and it's very inexpensive. And the point being is that for just, in this case here, between Steve and I, we're probably only using about $300 to $400 worth of equipment total to be able to do this kind of broadcast. And that includes the software that we're using, which actually does charge a yearly fee, but if you break it down per month or per episode, it's actually very inexpensive. And obviously I'm using the microphone here. This microphone probably cost me about $30. Steve's got a microphone that cost him probably about $100, $80, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and it's available for $70 now.
Yes, of course.
Isn't that amazing?
And I'm using a very simple webcam here, the Logitech C920, which is an HD cam.
Me too.
That one costs about $100. Steve, that's what you have as well, $100? So,
absolutely.
So great little cameras. And so that's the kind of equipment that you can still do this kind of a production and have decent quality without spending a fortune on this. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail on how we do that. So to start off with, let's talk a little bit about the options for things like cameras to be able to do live streaming. Now, the most powerful thing that you probably have is something in your pocket right now, and that is your phone. Believe it or not, your phone is a great tool for doing live streams. Now, obviously, most people use them for live streaming. They hold their phone up to their face and they talk into it in a vertical manner. But if you're doing something professional, you can still use your phone to be able to act as a nice camera, and there are some apps out there that will help you to do that. Now, the other option is, of course, to get a professional camera and a professional studio setup. And if you do that, there are some great cameras out there. Any broadcast quality camera, or really any camera that has an HD output, an HDMI output, can actually be used as a camera source. So if you've got a halfway decent camera that you bought at Best Buy, maybe for $300 or $400, if it's got the HD output, there are ways that you can connect it directly to your computer and use it as a live streaming source. And quite frankly, it's going to be very, very high quality. In fact, probably higher quality than even my C920 here, which is probably the best webcam out there. They have a new version, I think the C930 or the C922, something of that nature. But point being is, they're probably still going to be a little bit better than these webcams even the top of the line webcams. So you may want to check some of those out and use that as an option. If your computer does not have a way to input an HDMI signal, so if you've got a camera, you've got your HDMI out, but you don't have a way to get it in, there are some great tools out there that will help you do that. There's a tool from a company called itec, itec, and they actually make a little dongle that attaches to a USB 3 port. You plug your HDMI camera into it, and now you've got your nice HDMI camera as a webcam. So very, very good option for doing that. The other option is another camera that I have called the Mevo, M-E-V-O. And if you're not familiar with that, that is a camera that used to be, probably about a year ago, it was advertised everywhere on Facebook, nonstop. Anywhere you went on Facebook, you would see this little camera advertised. It almost looks like one of those little portable speakers that you attach to your phone.
Yeah.
It's like a little barrel-shaped camera.
Like a grenade or something.
Yeah, like one of the audio grenades that we used to have. It looks very similar to that. And what it does is it live streams directly to Facebook for you. So you literally, you put the camera up on, let's say, a tripod or wherever you want to do it, you point it towards yourself, and you actually control it with your phone. And the great thing about this particular camera is that you actually control it with your phone as far as the shot and the composition. So for instance, let's say Steve and I are in the same room, we've got the Mevo camera, I can set it up using my phone and then have click on Steve and it'll actually get a close-up of him, click on myself, it'll get a close-up of me, get a two-shot of us all from the same camera. And the way it does that is by shooting in 4K, but then broadcasting 720p, so you get a full 720p in different spots that you're zoomed in on. So it's a really, really good camera for that. I think it runs about $300. I picked one up about a year ago, and quite honestly, I haven't really used it much, but I did want to get it because I wanted to test it out, and it's a fantastic camera for live streaming, and it's even a great camera for just recording. You record to your SD cards, and then you plug them into your computer, and you can download everything that you've recorded that way. So it's a very good general camera as well. And the great thing about that is it uses your phone as the controller, and it can use your phone as the audio recording device. So if you've got a microphone that plugs into your phone, you now can record your audio with your microphone attached to you, and the Mevo camera is even across the room.
All right, I got a question now.
Yeah, go for it.
For doing stuff on your phone, is there a good tripod adapter and a good mic to use, so that will plug into your iPhone that has an adapter on it? That's what I want to know.
There's actually a lot of them out there. We actually used to have a lot of packages that we put together, which I need to start putting back together again at Pocket Video Pro, but we don't really have everything set up right now to do that anymore. But one company that I highly, highly, highly recommend is a company called Movo, M-O-V-O. Now, don't get confused because we just talked about the Mevo, M-E-V-O camera. Now we're talking about Movo, M-O-V-O, which creates actually the microphone that I'm using right now is actually created by them. And the little tripod mount that I have on the other side of the room here is sold by them as well. And that's a very, very good mount. It not only attaches to your tripod with your phone, but it has the ability to attach a light to the top of it or a big microphone to the top of it, things like that. So it's a very, very useful tool. Highly recommend them, M-O-V-O, Movo. Check them out. And not to be confused, because we're going to talk about something called Mimo in a little bit too. So a lot of weird little M words are going to be in here. So I guess that's what we should have used at the top of the show. Leave off the last M for Mevo, Movo, Mimo.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting when people get done with this show. Wait, was that the Movo? What? Mevo? What? So anyway, the camera is the Mevo. The microphones are Movo. Totally different companies, just happen to have a very similar sounding name. But I highly recommend that you check those things out. The Mevo camera is fantastic for Facebook Live. The Movo microphone, the camera mount for your phone, very, very good stuff, and will help you to make a very good live video or any video production, really. Now, the next thing that we want to talk about is, of course, the software, because you need some sort of software that's going to allow you to take all of these things that you're doing, the microphones, the cameras, all that stuff, and put it together into one package that you can then broadcast out. Now, the software that we use is actually a software called Mimo, M-I-M-O. So don't get confused, Mevo, Movo, and now Mimo. totally unrelated. It's just very strange that they all have similar names. And the way you can remember this is Mimo, the software, means multi-in, multi-output. And this is a Mac-only software, so if you don't have a Mac, you won't be able to use this particular tool. But believe it or not, you can get a used Mac that's powerful enough to do it for a fairly inexpensive price, or you could get one of the little Mac Minis over at Best Buy. You're probably not going to be able to do everything that you want to do with one of those, but it should help you to be able to do some really nice live stuff, much better than you're doing with just your phone right now. So I highly recommend that you check that out. What that software does is it turns your computer into a full television production studio. So for instance, all the stuff that you see if you're watching us on Facebook, from the clock in the top corner to the happy faces and thumbs up and hearts that you can do, the logo in the corner, the 2 box of Steve and I, the streaming RSS feed down below, all of that's done with the mimoLive software, and you can do all sorts of other things with it too. You can do things like, animated images. You can do picture-in-picture. You can do dual screen. You can actually have somebody with an iPhone be a reporter and have them report live into the software. And obviously you can connect with other people like I am with Steve here, similar to the way you might do with Skype right now. But this one's actually even a little easier than doing Skype. You just send a link and boom, they're on the show. So it's a very, very powerful tool. It streams to anything you want to. It'll directly stream to Facebook with just one click. You don't have to set anything up inside of Facebook. Same thing for YouTube. It'll just auto send right to your YouTube account. Or you can set it up traditionally if there's other things you want to do with your show. If you want to stream other places, you can do that just by putting in stream keys, and you can have a show on any of the platforms right from directly in this software. So highly recommend you check that out. mimoLive, MIMO-Live. Very, very good, powerful software. It's a little expensive, a little on the expensive side, but quite honestly worth every single penny that it costs. Now, for some other options, one very popular one that people know a lot about is Wirecast. Wirecast by Telestream. Now, Telestream is a tremendous video company. They're the ones that make ScreenFlow as well and a few other programs. Well, Wirecast is their version of a streaming tool that allows you to take everything that you're doing with your live streams and broadcast it out. So if you've got a pre-recorded video, you've got a guest, you've got a person, on camera, you've got graphics, all those kinds of things built right into this. Not the easiest software in the world to use, and a little bit too expensive in my opinion. It's actually more expensive than mimoLive, but probably only does a quarter of what mimoLive does. But it is a very good piece of software. And it actually runs very similarly to another piece of software we're going to talk about, and that software is OBS, Open Broadcaster software. Now, this is a free software that you can download right now, and it's a very, very good tool for broadcasting through Facebook Live and YouTube Live and other streaming sources. Again, you bring in all of your sources into the program just like you would with Wirecast. You set them up, and then you can broadcast out using a stream key to any of the different streaming places as long as you have a stream key for it. So whether you want to go to Facebook or YouTube or Livestream.com, whatever, you can do that directly from OBS. It doesn't cost anything, so it's worth checking out. I believe the website is obsproject.org, so you can check it out there and see OBS. Very, very good software. Now, there are some new players in the game that, I haven't even had a ton of time to check out too much, but very cool softwares that I want to bring up. One of them is a software called Switcher Studio. And Switcher Studio has a lot of promise. In fact, it's one that I'm going to be doing a lot of testing with over the next couple of weeks. And this one works kind of the opposite of the other softwares that we've talked about. Most of the softwares that we've talked about, like mimoLive, what they do is they work on your desktop and you bring in sources from other places. Well, this one actually works the exact opposite. You actually run the software from your iPad. So you're actually broadcasting from your iPad, and the sources can be things like your home computer, Windows, Mac. You can bring them in as sources. You can bring in cameras, and you run it just like you would a studio, just like we talked about with OBS and mimoLive and Wirecast, but you do it from your iPad. So very cool software that you probably want to check out. It's just at switcherstudio.com, and a lot of promise. Very, very good stuff. Another one that I want to talk about is one that, Steve, you were talking about earlier, and that's vMix. Now, vMix is a Windows-only software, so believe it or not, my only interactions with it is kind of learning how it works by watching videos. So I've never gotten a chance to test this out because I don't have Windows, I don't use Windows. But it's another software that kind of does the same things as mimoLive. Doesn't have as many tools in its tool belt, but it is a very good little software from what I can tell that can help you on Windows to do some of the things that you're doing on mimoLive and get yourself a very good live stream going with a lot of graphics and things like that. So highly recommend you check that out. vMix. V as in victory, M-I-X. Very good little software from what I can tell. And Steve, you said you know people that you've heard from others that use this, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and they're real happy with it. Yeah,
nice.
So, yeah,
well, that's good.
That's great.
It seems like a great software. So now let's talk a little bit about something that can be a little bit more controversial when it comes to live streaming. Now, for those of you who've live streamed from Facebook, you may know that one of the rules on Facebook is that when you're going live to Facebook, you can't go live to somewhere else, or you're not supposed to. So in other words, you couldn't stream live a show to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. You know, I mean, technically you can do that, but Facebook does not want you doing that. It's against their terms of service. Quite honestly, I'm not sure why they really care, but for whatever reason they do. So this is something that you have to be aware of. However, there are tools out there that will actually allow you to stream to multiple places at the same time. So for instance, you could be streaming to Periscope and YouTube and Livestream.com and Instagram, possibly, all at the same time. And just, you know, one camera going out to these multiple locations. And yes, you could technically go to Facebook at the same time doing this. You're not supposed to, but you definitely could do that with a software like Switchboard.com, which allows you to connect to multiple locations. Essentially, what you're doing in that particular case is you're streaming to the Switchboard.com site, and then the Switchboard.com site is streaming it out to the multiple locations for you at the same time. And that way you can do some fun stuff and really get the message out there. Now, one little hack that I've done, and this is something that I tested right at the very beginning when I first started to do live streaming, is to use something like OBS and just open multiple instances of OBS. And so what I did was I opened up 4 or 5 copies of OBS, and I put the same stream key in all 5 of them, but I had each of them go out to a different place. So I was literally streaming live to 4 or 5 Facebook pages at the same time. Now there are tools that we use that will take your live stream and share it to all of your different pages and whatnot. But this was actually streaming live to each of them individually. Now, you may say, well, what's the difference with that? Well, there's actually a big difference between streaming live to one Facebook page and then having that shared out to other Facebook pages. And what I mean by that is when you broadcast a live video to Facebook, Facebook gives that a lot of weight. They make sure that it reaches a larger audience, a larger number of people that have liked your page. Whereas if you just share a video, it's going to be like anything else, and it's going to get out to a very small percentage of the people on your that have liked your page. But if you stream directly to both of those pages at the same time, they will both get that same bump, and more people will be able to see your live stream at the same time. So highly recommend that you check that out. Switchboard, it'll help you to multicast and really make a big difference in the amount of audience that you can get. Steve, have you tried any of these tools in the past to kind of broadcast any of your stuff?
OBS and Wirecast.
Just OBS and Wirecast, that's it.
Yeah. I'm not a big streaming guy. I mean, I do the once a week podcast, but you do the streaming.
Sure.
But OBS worked great for me, and I was just playing around with it. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I was just playing around with it.
Hey, for free, it's a tremendous software.
Yeah,
you think about
that's
it.
right.
You use OBS and you use Skype to bring in a guest or Zoom to bring in a guest. Cost you nothing. Doesn't cost anything to do that. So you're using all that great software without having to pay a single penny for it. So that's kind of my modern update on live streaming. And, there's a lot of great tools out there, and I'm sure we missed a ton of them. There's new ones coming out all the time. In fact, there was one, and I apologize, I had to cut it out because I can't remember, they changed their name, and I can't remember the name of the software. And it actually works very similar to OBS. In fact, I think it was a little bit better than OBS, but it worked directly in your web browser. And it was kind of a step up from OBS. And I think it was called like Livestream or something like that. I couldn't remember the name of it, so I had to...
I played with that too, yeah.
Very good software. The funny story about that particular software is I actually got onto that software the day they were test launching it. And it was totally by accident. I just happened to be doing a search. I found this site. I went to it, and I started playing with it and doing things. And I just hit the help button and asked them a question about something. And I found out that it was literally the first day that they had opened this up. So I was like one of the very first people to ever even try the software. But it was a very good software. It worked really well. It was kind of a mix of what our mimoLive software is and OBS. So it would stream out like OBS does in a very simple manner, but it had some of the higher end tools for making a better video, similar to what Mimo or vMix would have for you. So it's a very, very cool stuff. Very excited to see that. And again, I wish I could remember the name. I think it was Livestream or something like that. But it's been a while since I've been there, so I forgot what the name of it is. And I tried to search it up, and of course I couldn't find it anywhere because they're still kind of a new.
And I don't have the extension in Chrome anymore. I don't know why.
Well, I may not either because it's a different operating system and everything has been changed, so I may not either. But in any case, there's a lot of good softwares out there, a lot of good softwares coming. And actually, before we end this, I do want to talk about one more thing, and this is something that for the really high end live streaming folks, something you really want to consider is some of the much nicer tools that are out there. And now we're talking about spending $5,000, $10,000. For instance, if you're familiar with a company called NewTek, they used to create what was called the Video Toaster and Lightwave 3D. Well, they've got some live streaming tools that give you amazing abilities. However, we're talking about spending an absolute fortune for them. But if you want to do real green screening live, which by the way you can do with Mimo, you can do with OBS, you can do with Wirecast, but this is like true hardware green screening with virtual sets, multi-camera switchers, and just amazing stuff. It is a true studio, but you're going to talk about spending quite a bit of money on things like that. But check out NewTek if you want to see some very cool stuff. They've got a lot of different streaming tools there that will absolutely blow your mind.
NEW?
Yes, NEWTEK. NewTek. So highly recommend you do check it out at least because, if you get serious into this and you're making money doing live streaming, it might be something worth looking into because you can do full entire broadcast cam, which actually, technically speaking, with mimoLive, you could do the same thing. But, this is a dedicated hardware solution for things like that. So it's very cool stuff.
Yeah, a couple of months ago we had Chris Gloss on our program, who is teaching folks how to make money doing live streaming. So
yes,
remember him? Yeah, that was real interesting. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. So there's a lot of potential out there. And of course, when he came on, gosh, we didn't even have half the stuff that we're talking about now didn't exist. Nobody knew anything about it then. I don't even think I cared that much about live streaming at that point in time. So it's pretty impressive.
That is amazing.
Stuff. So
my video stuff that I do is much more pedestrian than you, but
you'd be surprised. Mine are pretty simple most of the time. So
I played around with OBS, just to say I've done it, understand what it is. So that's cool.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, do you have a Mindset Matters?
Well, you know what? I certainly do, and I'm going to give.
Hey, you know what? I got one. I got. We were talking about podcasts on. I got one.
Should I hit the sound button?
Yeah, hit the thing.
And now, Mindset Matters.
Go for it.
Okay, so I think we were the last time we did a show like 3 years ago. We were talking about podcasts, about how to podcast. Weren't we?
Yes.
And so there's a couple that I like to get involved in. The one I really like is a Saturday morning live podcast. It's called Ask the Podcast Coach, and you can find it on AskThePodcastCoach.com. Just go to the listen live, and he's got an embed code from YouTube Live in there. His name is Dave Jackson. His co-host most of the time is a guy by the name of Jim Collison, who's here in Omaha. But I've learned so much about how to podcast and how to get the right equipment. Another guy is Daniel J. Lewis. He does one called The Audacity to Podcast, where he just goes into everything podcasting. But he also does a Facebook live stream every Monday at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. Nice. And it's kind of a Ask Daniel J. Lewis anything you want to ask him, and he answers the questions. So people will send in their questions ahead of time, and then they can do the comment thing. Once a month, there's one called Podcasters Roundtable with Ray Ortega and Dave Jackson. And then another one is the New Media Show with Todd Cochran. Todd is the president of Blueberry, who put together our Show podcast network. The one that I found, the two that I found that are really easy to watch, Ask the Podcast Coach and Daniel J. Lewis's Facebook stream Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern. So
nice.
Yeah,
and of course, there's also the Podcast Answer Man, who will give you a lot of great information as well. So a lot
great
of
guy
podcasting.
Great guy, and we talked about him the last time we did a show. Cliff Ravenscraft, super
Best
nice guy.
name in the world too.
Yeah.
I still don't believe it's his real name.
Besides Steve Sleeper,
Yes, of course. Yes, so that's some great resources for podcasting. So I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, we finally got around to doing another show. I think it's been about a month.
It has.
But Ray had to move to Atlanta, and they drove there, and then he had to unpack and get everything set up, find an office. It's great that you're not in the house anymore, though, dude.
Yes, no dogs barking, but we probably will hear ambulances and fire trucks and
police. At least you're out of the house.
We're actually, the city hall is literally like just 100 feet out this wall right here. Well, more than 100 feet, but
You going to paint the place? I kind of like the purple and yellow.
It's not bad. I'm probably not going to bother to paint the place. It's not.
It was kind of cool looking to me, but
it's neat.
Anyhow. So it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper on the Show podcast network. And today's show made possible by
freevideoeditor.co. Are you looking to start video editing, but you don't know where to begin, and you don't want to spend $1,000 on a video editing tool? Well, then head on over to freevideoeditor.co, download the Shotcut Video Editor along with all of our extras, and you can start editing like a pro right away. Just check it out right now at freevideoeditor.co, and leave off the last M for Mevo, Movo, any of them.
Yeah, all those. Mo's.
All right, with that, let's hit the music, and hopefully we'll see you guys all next week. We won't have another month between.
Ray's getting all settled in.
I am. I'm getting settled in. Here we go.
There we go.
Rap. He's Ray, the video guy. Yeah, Ray, the video guy. His skill is where it's at. Even if he's a little fat, he's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need, he stays sharp like a crease in his pants. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing super sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah. Ray the video guy, yeah.